All right, guys, welcome back to the Red and White Podcast post Duke game edition. A game that started out shit and then got a little better and then ended how it began, didn't it?
It's a rare Saturday recording for us here.
Yeah, we've been a little behind this week, but
life
we got a doozy for you tonight. So
yeah, I mean, the Duke game was interesting. The first thing that I noticed was that the scores are almost identical. We scored 2 more points than the last time we played them. It was 88-78 in the PNC and then 88-80 in Cameron. Both times we lost, though, so we got that going for us.
yeah, we got 2 points better, though.
That's right. Big improvement. Obviously, the biggest difference it was the free throw line. I mean, Duke shot 32 free throws. That's 13 more than us. I mean, that's especially when playing in Cameron, that's a big difference.
It's
not surprisingly, but
Cameron, though, yeah.
Yeah, it's not surprising at all. But yeah, they started out slow, and Dustin even texted me and said, "Are we gonna get 20 at the half?" And then right when he said that, Maverick hit 2 or 3 threes in a row, and he started out well and kind of got lost in the second half. It's kind of weird because Cat started out slow too, and then he picked it up, and then Maverick backed off, and then Cat played better in the second half, and Maverick was kind of non-existent. I guess they both like to shoot. I don't know. There's only so many balls to go around.
Yeah, it's like they can't mesh together at the same time, which that's probably the story or seems to be the story of the whole team, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Cat still finished with 26. I mean, played a good game for the most part, 6 assists. I think he only had 2 or 3 turnovers, 3 actually. So, I mean, still a pretty good game for him. He's doing whatever he can. He's got no help. Looking at the box score, that was weird that neither one of the Martin boys took a 3. Not necessarily a bad thing, but just different. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of more of the same, The one thing that stood out to me was Nick Vitale. After Cat had scored like 12 straight, he starts talking about Bryce Johnson is the lock for ACC Player of the Year. I mean,
of course he does.
That's so frustrating, though. It just gets my nerves. It's just like, come on, give Cat some respect.
You can't be surprised, though.
Like, just a lock? I mean, maybe say, Bryce Johnson's got a case for it. But a lock? Carolina hadn't played a ranked team till Louisville, and then a ranked ACC team till Louisville, and then they lost. Let's not crown them champions yet. There's still some games left.
Plus, he's had a good year, but Cat's clearly had the better year.
Yeah, he's had an amazing year. It's unbelievable. Coach K even said, this is a quote after the game, don't judge a guy how good a guy is just by the record of his team, because they're close to winning 5 more games, but he gives them a chance to win every game. He's the toughest out in the league. I mean, that says a lot. When that's come from Coach K, he's not going to say it about everybody.
Yeah.
So give the guy some respect. I was on Mike DeCourcy on Twitter because his mid-year All-American team had Grayson Allen over Cat. I mean, Duke stinks. They're not any better. I mean, they're better record than us, but they're not that good. Why is he on the All-American team?
The brand name.
Yeah, it's exactly it. That's frustrating. But I don't know, whatever. More of the same. Last week after the FSU game, there's a lot of interesting conversations about Godfrey. It was...
Oh, you mean when I piss people off?
Yeah, I mean, everybody did. It's like, I don't know where I stand on this, but, I can be the antagonist just for the sake of an argument. Godfrey is good and he is bad. And I think people have a right to be concerned about the future of the program. It's the same way people have the right to be optimistic about it. Like, there's good and bad going on. I can see both sides of the argument. I think it's a difficult place to be in right now. What it comes down to, I think it's, in everybody's job, there's a metric for success, right? If you're in retail, more sales. If you're a waiter, you got to get more tips. If you're an Uber driver, you got to drive more, right? For us, it's what do you, as a fan or as a athletic department, what do you want? Do you think NCAA tournament runs are your metric for success or ACC results. I mean, I think that's going to define people's side of the argument. For me, I don't want to go the Roy Williams mentality and just not care about the ACC tournament or the ACC league play. Just worry about the NCAA. I said it numerous times. I think you got to win the league, and it's seeing Miami and Virginia do it in recent years kind of raises questions. This is why are those teams better than us? I mean, I don't know. That's the frustrating part for me.
Well, as far as Roy is concerned, saying that he only cares about the NCAA tournament, it's easy to say that when you're always relevant in league conversations.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, he can say that, but they win it every once in a while, you know? So he can act like he doesn't care, but that's shit. I mean, it matters, you know?
It does matter, and I think we'll get into this a little bit later in this episode, but people keeps referencing Mark Godfrey's gone to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, right? I mean, is that your metric for success? For me, that's not great. I mean, like 68 teams go to the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a great metric of success if you think you're the top 20%. You know, it's just, I think you got to do better. That doesn't do it for me. And if you look at the arena, it doesn't do it for most fans. Nobody's showing up to the games. It's 2/3 full, maybe. And that's, Debbie's got to look at it and say, in 5 years from now, what is Godfrey going to have done with this program? Some people might say that's not fair, but that's what the leaders have to do. If you don't think the CEO of your company is thinking 5 years, 10 years from now, then you're crazy. That's what you have to do when you're in that position. It's realistic, and it's not unrealistic to say, hey, I think in 5 years, Godfrey's not going to have done any much better than he has now.
Right.
I can agree with that argument. I can see that side of the argument for sure. And I can also see people say, hey, we have 3, great players sitting on our bench. Well, they're on the bench. It doesn't help me right now. Godfrey's had a lot of good players.
And what's he done with them,
Yeah. So that's the tough part. I think, but I think what it comes down to is the Archie factor is real. I mean, people will kind of poo-poo it and downplay it. Oh, he's not coming back to Raleigh. That's just the NC State fan and you saying, the worst is going to happen. But there's no way he and his wife are going to pass up a chance to move back to Raleigh, a place they've said they love, a place they, met. They went to college here, spent a lot of time. It's a thing. It's possible. And so when you consider Archie, is his ceiling higher than Godfrey's ceiling? That's that right? Is his floor higher than Godfrey's ceiling? I got that backwards. Right? Because do you think Archie will do better than Godfrey's going to do? All right, where do you think?
He's done better at Dayton, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's been to an Elite Eight.
Where do you think Godfrey's going to go in 5 years? Would Archie achieve that or more? I don't know. That's tough. I think Archie's a coach through and through. I think he's a coach. We haven't had a true. It's going to sound bad because I don't think Godfrey's a bad coach, but I think Archie's born to coach. It's in his family blood. I think that's realistic to look at that and say, I think Archie might do better. It's a kind of a shot in the dark, but are you okay with 6th place finishes in the ACC? I'm not really okay with that. I don't know. I think you have an interesting comparison here that people are going to kind of freak out about, but at this point in his career, is Mark Godfrey the same as Tom O'Brien?
If there's one thing state fans do well, it's tailgate. And I know for me, the most important part of a tailgate is a well-packed cooler. You have to ask yourself 2 questions. How clean is your cooler, and how cold are your drinks? Nobody wants to reach into a dirty cooler and grab a warm beer. Now, I've put rock salt in my coolers for years to try and chill beverages a little bit quicker, but a lot of times I'll either use too little or too much, and I'll have a can filled with slush. I'm also guilty of being a little bit lazy when it comes to cleaning the cooler after I'm finished with it. Then I found Frostbite Cooler Salt. This isn't just salt, it's salt combined with safe and organic ingredients that clean your cooler while it's getting your beer super cold. The really cool part is that it doesn't just clean your cooler, but it cleans everything that goes into it. So when you pull that beer out, it's not just going to be super cold, but the can itself is actually going to be germ-free. And it comes conveniently packaged with the perfect amount to sprinkle over 20 pounds of ice. You can find it in a growing number of stores in the Raleigh area as well as online if you're outside the Triangle. So check out coolersalt.com, that's COOLER salt.com, to find the closest location to you and see how you can have a clean and cold cooler every time. Frostbite Cooler Salt. Colder, faster, cleaner.
Like you said, people are gonna freak out and get mad. But if you really look at it, is he doing or providing anything different than TOB did on the football side? I mean, really ask yourself, what is NC State basketball and what's acceptable? And then turn that around and apply it to the TOB era. And if you're saying the same thing, then why is it okay for everybody to jump on TOB and want him gone, but it's unrealistic for Godfrey to be gone?
See, for me, that's what comes down to the metrics of success. What is your metric?
Yep.
Right? For some reason, football has got a higher standard when we have never won anything in football.
Exactly. It should be the other way around.
Exactly. So that's my concern with the mentality of everybody. Like, NCAA tournament runs are what we're going for. Well, no, we have banners hanging for national titles because we're a relevant program. We should be a relevant program.
Yeah. TOB took us to bowl games. He didn't win titles. Godfrey takes us to the tournament. He doesn't win titles. What's the difference? TOB was expected to win the ACC, but Godfrey's not expected to do that. Everybody was, fire TOB, get rid of him, we can do better. But the same mentality doesn't apply in basketball, and I don't get it. And I really did some homework on this. And TOB's highest finishing conference was a tie for second place in the division one year, and that was a tie for the third best record overall in the conference. Gottfried has tied for fourth twice, and those were the first 2 years he was here with players that he didn't recruit. So other than that, we've seen seventh, a tie for sixth, and it's going to be a lot worse than that this year. So teams that he's built haven't achieved what he inherited talent-wise. Sidney Lowe couldn't coach, but he put good guys on the roster. And when those guys were gone, the conference finishes started lowering. So those are teams that Gottfried built himself. And they look good talent-wise. They should be better. But for some reason, it's trending downward, and nobody's acknowledging that. And I don't understand why.
And that's a real concern, because if you look at the talent that he's had, he's going to have 2 ACC Player of the Years.
Yep.
Well, let's let that sink in a little bit. He's going to have 2 ACC Player of the Years in 5 years. That's amazing. And to not be able to build a team around him, I think is a real concern. And people are going to point to the fact that Henderson got hurt. Okay, we don't know what Henderson's going to give you. Maybe, 12, 16 points a game, somewhere in there. It's probably going to help take some pressure off of Cat, but it's still more than one guy. He's putting his entire season, or you're going to blame the entire season on the fact that Terry Henderson got hurt?
Yeah.
That's not a strong program. That's not what is going to hang banners.
But we're not going for banners anymore, apparently. Sweet 16 banners are as good as it gets.
Yeah.
That's kind of my problem. We got to hang a banner that said Sweet 16 on it. Well, TOB won bowl games, and that year got put up in the stadium as a bowl win. So shouldn't we laud him for that? So that's where I'm going with that for one of the points.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's a very real comparison, and people are just gonna, they're gonna bash it just because the personalities are so different. But when you look at the program states and the program results, I think it's a valid point. You have to consider it.
And okay, so TOB inherited a pretty bad team.
Mm-hmm.
Got the talent never got to where everyone wanted it. But he had guys that worked perfectly in the system he ran. He was going to get all he could out of those guys. So he would work with minimal talent and get the maximum out of them. Gottfried gets, we'll say, maximum talent and doesn't get as much out of them as he could. But they both ended up with kind of the same results.
Mm-hmm.
But people have blinders on because, Gottfried got TJ Warren. He got Trevor Lacey to come in. Well, that's fine, but what did he do with them? I mean, if you want Sweet 16s, then cool. That's good for you. But TOB was fired because he couldn't win the conference. He got us to bowl games, and that was it. What's Gottfried done? He gets us to tournaments. 2 Sweet 16 runs, which we'll dive into later. And they're right, those are great, but is it really as impressive as it seems? Because bowl wins are impressive to me. And the thing is, I'm saying this, and I was the big Gottfried supporter. But I started wondering, am I being blinded by tournament runs? And the answer is yes, I am. It's not as good as it seems.
I think if you look at it, too, go back to last year, how many games did we win because Trevor Lacey could hit a clutch shot?
Yeah.
I mean, was it 4 or 5? He's pretty close to being... flipping the tables right there. We'll be in the NIT if he didn't hit those shots. That's crazy. I mean, that's living on the edge.
Yeah, I mean, it's been borderline. That's the thing, and it's okay. So, Godfrey's been to 4 tournaments. We've been an 11 seed, an 8 seed, a 12 seed, and an 8 seed. That's not great.
Mm-mm.
A team with 2 national titles, and the best we can do is an 8 seed. Like, is that what state basketball is now? Apparently, that's what's acceptable, being an 8 seed.
And a player of the year.
Yeah. I mean, that it's okay. And I can see the excitement of being in the tournament. Just making it is acceptable for some schools. But I think our expectations should be a little higher. I mean, look at those seeds. That's something you would expect from a Wake Forest or a conference winner from a smaller conference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'll use Dayton just as an example to piss people off. You should expect to see Dayton in the tournament with that kind of ranking or seed. Though they're top 25 now, though. So I would expect
their last 4?
Higher.
Where have the last 4 tournament seeds been?
Dayton?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I didn't study that up.
Okay.
But I mean, that's just the kind of thing you expect to see. You expect to see good teams in those seeds, but
Sure.
They're seeded that way because of their conference. It's just how it works.
If Clemson goes to tournament and gets an 11 seed or an 8 seed, they're ecstatic, right?
Yes.
They should be happy, right? Boston College gets 11 seed. They're pumped. I agree with you. I think State coming in 11, 12, that's cool. We're in the tournament. I think it's fun to watch, but
see, that should be a bad year, though.
Yes, I agree.
So, next one, something to make people even more mad. 2 sets of seeds here. So the one we just had was 11, 8, 12, 8. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The next one, 7, 9, 3, 10. Which one sounds better?
I think the second one sounds better.
Those are Gottfried's first 4 years and Herb's first 4.
Ooh.
Herb got to the tournament for a 5th straight year as a 10th seed, so he dropped, but that's going to be better than Gottfried's 5th year.
It's true. That's, people really, and we brought it up. I compared Gottfried to Herb, and it really bugged some people. And there's a reason why I did it. Is because Herb was the last time we had I'll say a real coach, but a genuine coach, right? Sidney Lowe wasn't a good coach. Everybody knows it. He could bring in talent, but he couldn't coach he couldn't coach them at all. So I use Herb too. He's our metric, right? He's what we know. He's the best coach we've had since Jimmy V. Les Robinson, and Sidney Lowe in between there. No, I'm going to use Herb as a metric. So I think that's a fair point to look at.
Yeah. So say what you want. Herb's first 5 years are going to be better than Gottfried's first 5 years.
Wow.
We ran Herb out of town because it wasn't good enough.
And, just to play devil's advocate here, Herb had pooped for talent. He didn't get anybody. He didn't have anybody coming in. Gottfried had Lowe's 5-star galores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that one surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be that bad, but I mean, it is what it is. If we're going to play that tournaments are all that matters, then we should look at the seeding of those tournaments to see how we stack up against everyone else.
I agree.
And Herb's team stacked up better.
Wow. I would never expect that, to be honest.
No. And then, so Gottfried made his first four tournaments, but what have we heard all these years where we're on the bubble? Well, he's a master of the schedule. He makes the schedule just right, so the SOS is high enough and they get in. Okay, so great. We make the tournament because he schedules a certain way. The out of conference is set up just right to get us from bubble to in.
Mm.
Doesn't that sound a lot like people fussing about our football schedule?
It does. Actually, it does.
Would we have made some of those bowl games if we hadn't scheduled it right?
It's true. That's really true. Yeah.
There's scheduling got TOB to bowl games, but those bowl games weren't good enough. The tournament is, though.
That's a tough comparison. I mean, I see it. Yeah. People are not going to like that one, but it's true. It's a middle level bowl, middle of the pack bowl game versus middle of the pack NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Now that everybody's already good and riled, I'm really going to piss you off.
Oh, bring it.
So the argument that people cling to is, 2 Sweet 16s in 4 years. And hey, I was one of those guys before this season. I really was.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those guys after 3 games in the conference. But you can see there's just something wrong.
Yep.
So the first tournament, 2012, Sid's guys. First game, we go as an 11 seed against a 6th seeded San Diego State. We were 5 seeds lower than San Diego State. Woo yay. State should beat San Diego State every damn time they're on the floor. And it ended that way. State won 79-65.
Yeah, pretty easily.
And that 6th seed that San Diego State had, I think they may have been ranked that year.
They were definitely. I remember that. They were pretty good that year.
I mean, that's a thing. That's a seed that you expect from a small school that's good. They're not going to get much better than 6th. But we're in as an 11, and we're excited about it.
Mm.
So we win. That's cool. Whatever. That's the result that should come from an ACC school playing San Diego State.
Right. Agreed.
Second game, 3-point win over number 3 Georgetown. Okay, that's a good win. Hey, that was a good Georgetown team. I remember that.
Yeah.
Close game, good game. But when you think of State and Georgetown, they should really be close to each other in perception and expectations. I mean, Georgetown has a nice history. We have a nice history. We should be on the same level somewhat,
Right.
Yeah, they're 3 and we're an 11, but we pull it out. So we've had 2 upsets that get us to the Sweet 16. We weren't supposed to win either of those games because our season didn't justify it. Next round, we lost to Kansas, number 2. I mean, no shame. They were good. We should have lost that game. So that's a good run. Honestly, I think it was the more respectable of the 2 runs, even though we beat a 1 seed last time.
Yeah, that whole tournament matched up well for us. remember that San Diego State team was kind of highly ranked. They shouldn't, shouldn't have had a problem with them. We didn't. I remember that Georgetown team. They were good, but that slow Princeton Georgetown offense, we know how that does in tournaments. We saw playing time with Herb.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought we would win that game too, but they played well in the Kansas game. I do remember that. That was a good one.
Yeah, was that Kirk Heinrich, I think?
Heinrich, yeah.
Pretty much beat us. But honestly, I think that was the best year Gottfried had.
Yeah, I agree.
The conference record the next year was a couple games better, but overall, I mean, that was a good season. Sweet 16 last year, we go in as an 8 seed. Yay. I mean, 4 years later, and that's tied for the best seed we've had. But we've been in the tournament, so it's okay. An 8's all right. Now, everybody's like, oh, Sweet 16, we were there. Everybody forgets it took basically a buzzer beater by BJ Anya against a 9 seed LSU to advance out of the first round. And that was LSU without Ben Simmons. They were shit.
We couldn't get through a podcast without a Ben Simmons reference.
There was nothing impressive about that.
LSU, it was a BJ Anya jump hook too, right? You
Yeah.
would never expect that crap to go in.
No, it shouldn't have gone in. He doesn't make that shot. He can't make it now. I mean, and then this team had Trevor Lacey. The game shouldn't have been that close. We should have won, So cool. We're out of the first round. And then the one that gives everybody a chubby, we take down the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you win over a 1 seed is impressive. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But let's see if you remember, weeks before the tournament started, before the bracket came out, I talked on this very podcast about how I prayed we got Nova because we would beat them.
Yep, I remember that.
Terrible matchup for them. They were overrated, and we were the better team. I expected to win that game. I mean, y'all can doubt it. Go back and listen.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I thought they'd make a little bit longer run. I thought they were a little stronger than that, but you called it. Called it right on.
It seemed like a good matchup for us. So we beat a 1. Okay, cool. We're in the Sweet 16. Then we lose to 4 seed Louisville. We should be even level with Louisville if we want to look at the conference. They beat us by 10 in the tournament.
We beat them in that to close the year, right? Or maybe it was ACC tournament at some point.
I think so.
Yeah, and then, I think we beat them twice, and I think the common thinking was you're not going to beat them a third time, which that was right. They dominated us that game. We weren't really in it at all.
Yeah. So, okay. First Sweet 16, they earned it.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, they're lucky to even get to play the 1 seed.
Right.
And it was about the best matchup you could draw up to play a 1. So that's why I think 2012 was the better of the 2 runs.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So there's 2 of the 4 years, Sweet 16. How about the other 2? Well, 2013 lost to 9 seed Temple in the first game. We were...
Oh, God, that game.
So we go in as a 12 seed and lose to the 9. But we made it as a 12 seed, so the year was a success. 2014, we got a win in the tournament, but it was in the first 4.
The playing game.
The first 4. We beat fellow 12 seed Xavier. And then we lost the free throw game against 5 seed St. Louis.
God, that was so painful.
Yeah. I'm not even going to count a first 4 game as a win.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, we won a tournament game, but just to get to when the actual tournament starts, no.
North Dakota State should be playing in the first 4 games.
Exactly. Not NC State. What is the first 4? It's the thing to help the schools that shouldn't be there get in.
Right.
So that's what they said. That's what they told us. But it's okay because we made it. We had to go to Dayton and play a game. There's all kinds of little connections. Dayton played in the first 4 that year too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how else to draw it out. It's not as good as it seems. It's really not. TOB won bowl games, didn't win championships. Gottfried wins some playoff or postseason games, can't win a championship. No ACC regular season, no ACC tournament. I mean, the TOB thing, okay, so you win bowls, you can't win a title. Would you call that mediocre?
Absolutely.
So why doesn't that apply to basketball?
It comes back to the metric of success, right? I'd love to hear from people who listen and just everyone in general. What's your metric of success? Do you want to win ACC or do you want to make it to the tournament?
I don't know, it blows my mind. We should expect more out of basketball than football. There's a reason to.
And that's part of the reason I have more patience with the football program. You know, I've been having my frustrated points with it. I think everybody has, but you got to realize where we've come from.
Yeah.
We're a perpetual 8-win program, right? I don't know. So basketball should be different. It's easier to turn around a basketball program, and especially when you have 5-star talent.
Yeah. You can get the talent. You got the facilities. I mean, you've got the history. It's there.
Right.
There's no reason. I don't get it, and it's just popped up to me in the past month that there's such a double standard where people, and mind you, okay, I'm saying it might be the right time to make a move from Gottfried. I didn't even really think that when we dropped TOB.
Oh.
So I'm not one to just jump into this.
Right.
Like, I knew what to expect from state football, and that was become bowl eligible, win a bowl game most years.
Mm-hmm.
That's reasonable for us. But it wasn't to everyone else.
Yeah, I think, and we don't need to rehash TOB, but I can kind of see the parallel. I thought O'Brien's problem was he was an offensive line coach, right? He was supposed to build an offensive line, and we never really had that under him. And he said, hey, look, you're not doing what you're good at. And why are we still not able to do this?
Right.
And I think you can say that with Godfrey, too. What is he good at? Scoring points, right? He's supposed to be an offensive coach. Okay. I wonder where our scoring averages are.
Yeah.
I bet you they're not great. I bet you they probably line up with where we finish in the league.
He's got, and it's starting to worry me too that he's had these multiple guys that should be player of the year.
Yeah.
The offense has to go through more than one person.
Mm-hmm. And
you don't get player of the years without the bulk of the offense going through that person, usually. Cat dishes the ball really well, so that's not necessarily the problem, but the offenses seem to be very one-man oriented. And that's not working.
You're right. And when the offense is flowing, I think we saw it in like the first half of the Duke game when we played in Raleigh, and everybody's like, holy cow, look at that ball movement, right? When that offense is moving, it looks really good. Mm-hmm. But how often do you see that from us? Not very often. Maybe the big games, half of the big games. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we didn't see it at all in the next game against Georgia Tech.
No, it was a completely different team out there.
So why aren't we getting that same result? Why aren't we getting that same... Where's the inconsistency, right?
And whose responsibility is it to get that?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Everybody will disagree with me, but I put out straight numbers, and numbers don't lie.
It's one. It comes. What do you think we should be? Right. I'm glad I don't have to make this decision of, do we fire Godfrey? Do we keep Godfrey? That's on Debbie. I'm glad that's not on me. It's tough because I can see both sides of it. If if I'm speaking frankly, I'm going to say I'm a little bit more interested to see what Archie can do than continuing on with 11 and 12 seeds.
Right.
Whoever has this team next year should have a chance to win, whether or not Cat Palmer goes pro or not. And I think he absolutely should, probably will.
His numbers will only get worse next year.
Yeah.
There's going to be talent out there,
Yeah. So you got to go.
Leave. Yeah.
And so whoever comes in is going to have talent on this team. You're going to have Dennis Smith. You're going to have Torrin Dorn. You're going to have Terry Henderson and the Martin boys. And
I think Sean Kirk will be a lot better next year, too.
And yeah, so you're going to have talent. Is Godfrey going to be able to take that talent to the next level? Or do you bring in a guy who is winning at a mid-major? He's getting the most out of his guys. That's a tough call.
Yeah. I don't expect a change. I really don't.
I don't either.
But I think fans should open their eyes just a little bit and realize that they're acting differently than they did just a few years ago in football, and I don't understand why.
And I think it's okay to have this conversation, right? People are going to probably listen to him and say, "Oh, you guys are negative. You want to fire Godfrey." I don't want to fire Godfrey, but I want our basketball program to be better than middle of the pack ACC.
Yeah,
I would hope that everybody else does. And you broke it down. You look at the numbers. There's a lot of good comparisons there. And I think if you look at the arena and you compare that to Carter Finley attendance when Tom O'Brien got fired, you're going to find a lot of similarities because people stopped showing up to the football games. People aren't showing up to basketball games for a place that supposedly loves basketball.
Yeah.
It's the donors, it's the lifetime rights people, right? Look down the sidelines. There's not a lot of people there. They show up for the Duke game, but still, the other games, Georgia Tech, there was nobody there. People are disinterested. And then, if you're looking at that, you got to project out. Is he going to take this the right direction? Because we need to sell some tickets. Right? It's becoming harder and harder to sell tickets to get people to go to games because they can watch them on TV or they got other things going on. And money's what talks. I'm sure there's performance clauses in Godfrey's contract. If Debbie says, "Hey, this is not working," it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
But that she's the one that's going to make that call. Well, maybe some big money donors are going to make that call. But people it's okay to look at it. It's okay to have an educated opinion and look farther down the road. I think it goes back to being the realist, and we talked about it in the last episode. It's realistic. We're not living in a fantasy world. We're looking at the numbers. We're looking at the performance. And there's questions. People have the right to be worried about the future. I think there's glaring issues. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm still on the fence, maybe leaning towards change if it leads to Archie. So it's kind of an if statement. But I am concerned. I am concerned about where our program's going to go.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you want your season tickets and Wolfpack Club dollars to get you Sweet 16s, then hey, congrats. You're getting what you want. You've got to be super happy. But I kind of like a team that contends for a championship every once in a while.
Right.
I don't think it's unreasonable for me to say that, but for some reason people think it is.
Do you think it's easier to win the ACC in basketball or football?
Really can't see us doing it in either easily, but in football, it's going to be hard for us to even get to the championship game because we have to have a better record than Clemson or Florida State. Both of those teams have to have a bad year for us to get there, so we can't even get the chance, really. but the basketball talent in the ACC's been not as good as people thought it was going to be the past couple of years, this year included.
Correct.
You can make a tournament run. Even if you're mediocre in the regular season, you could still win the ACC. So you just got to get hot at the right time.
That's where I think it's basketball. You don't need as many guys.
Yeah.
And then you have two shots at it because you can win the regular season and then you can win the ACC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In football, you got to win your division or you're not getting a chance at the other one.
Yeah.
I come back to looking at Larinaga at Miami. Miami was terrible when they brought him in. And he is performing very well. He won the ACC tournament? He's got some ACC championships. I'm not sure what they are.
Right.
And they've been ranked for most of the year. Are you telling me Miami's a better basketball program than we are? Somebody's argument was, they don't have less talent. They have more talent than us. Okay, whose fault is that?
Right.
Who's the talent evaluator? Larinaga? Mark Gottfried? It's their responsibility.
Yeah.
UVA? Tony Bennett? He had nothing there. He's got those guys playing defense and winning ACC regular season titles. And to me, the NCAA tournament run is not acceptable. My metric for success for a basketball program is winning ACC or being top. I'll even say top 3 in the ACC.
Having where you can get close to the end of the year and be like, well, we got a shot.
Yeah.
It's not been like that. And you bring up other coaches. Hell, look at Virginia Tech. Buzz Williams is doing more with less.
Yeah.
So you can say we've got guys hurt, but he's got less talent in general, and he's winning games.
Yep, and beating us.
Yes. It's hard to keep going to we got guys hurt, and no. He's doing more with less.
Everybody, every programs deal with that. They deal with transfers and deal with injuries. So I don't think that's an excuse. I don't think that's a good excuse.
No, I think the transfers are more of a problem here because there's more than normal.
Right.
I talked about that before, but I don't know. I'm sick of the whining and the sucking at the Gottfried teat.
Right.
I did it. I get it. But if you just step back and look at it, I don't know.
It's hard for people to do that. Some people are just so blindly optimistic. They'll follow, Daffy Duck if he was coaching our team. They would say he's a great coach.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want to believe, right? That's what I want to believe. I want to believe we have the best coach possible. We're going to win all the games. I've been a State fan long enough to know that. I've been old enough and been through enough in life to understand that. Hey, let's be realistic about this. If I'm going to keep buying my season tickets, I don't want
to be a rate of return.
Right. I'm not getting my rate of return. Well, I want to see some progression, and I'm not asking for instant results and win every time. I just want to see progression. I want to see defense played. I want to see consistency and not losing to Wofford's and the bad Georgia Tech teams and William and Mary at home getting blown out, right?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. If there had not been a downward trend, if we were tying for 4th every year, I'd be okay with it.
Right.
But it's going downhill.
Right.
4, 4, 7, 6, and probably 10 maybe this year. That's not the right direction.
Yeah, that's tough for people to hear.
Everybody's got short memories.
Mm-hmm.
So all they remember is Sweet 16 last year. So next year, that's what scares me. We'll be a lot better next year,
right?
No matter who's coaching,
right?
But then, all right, Smith's probably a one and done.
Absolutely.
So where are we going to be after that? Are we going to have another year like this?
Oh man!
And then it's okay, right? Because we'll get to the tournament next year.
That's a good point. That is a really good point.
Yeah, I'm done. I don't have anything else. So,
Yeah, I'd love to hear people think about NCAA tournaments versus ACC results,
yes.
because I think that's an interesting conversation. And I think you can have an educated conversation where you can talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Without being a dick about it, too.
Yeah, let's keep from being a dick if you're listening to some people. Yeah. Anyway, interesting thoughts, interesting points there, people. We'll come back later in the week, or earlier in the week, I mean. We'll talk about football recruiting just wrapped up. There's some interesting stuff about that I think we need to talk about. And then some other things I'm sure we'll have time. I'm sure we'll fill it up.
We'll play a basketball game by then, and there'll be more shit. So, but yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, go Pack.
Go Pack.